Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ed DeVoe. I'm the president of the New Jersey Cannabusiness Association, the state's first and largest trade association established to help the state develop a responsible, sustainable, diverse, and profitable cannabis industry. Welcome to our Lunch and Learn program. We do this most every Friday from noon until about 12:30, where you hear from industry experts, folks that can help you as you contemplate your role in this emerging industry. So, by way of a couple of housekeeping things, we have to thank our sponsors. Our sponsors are Argus 365, a security firm, Burton, Trent Public Affairs, Curaleaf, Eaze, Financial Resources Federal Credit Union, Garden State Greenhouse, Puffin Entrepreneurs and Investors, Saks LLP, Saks, a new member. Thank you so much, Todd and your team. Sheet Metal Workers, Local 19, Sprague Energy, Syska Hennessy Group, a construction outfit, the UFCW, Locals 360 and 152. Thank you, Hugh Giordano, and Weeds Direct. Also want to bring to your attention for your calendars, Monday, April 11th, the CRC is going to stage another public meeting. That is Monday, April 11th. The CRC is in fact meeting once again. So do tune in to stay abreast of the industry and what the regulatory body is doing. And mark your calendars, April 27th. That is going to be the New Jersey CannaBusiness Association networking event hosted by the UFCW and Hugh Giordano. This is going to be in West Berlin, New Jersey. So please come on out. Current members, it's a $35 entrance, and for future members, it's $50. So come on out, in-person networking at the UFCW in West Berlin. We really appreciate the UFCW for hosting this event. We look forward to seeing you there. So as we get started today, again, as the trade association, as the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, we are so fortunate to have access to and membership from a lot of outstanding organizations in the state. We've heard from so many different professions over the last year that we've been doing Lunch and Learn, and today is no different. In fact, this is the first time I believe we are actually going to hear from a financial institution. So with that, I really want to thank Frank Almeida, who is the president and CEO of the Financial Resources Federal Credit Union. They are not only a corporate member, but they are going to be an active part of the cannabis industry in the state of New Jersey. So Frank, I want to welcome you.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate being here.
Great, great. And I hope people don't mind your South Carolinian accent, but it's great to have you, Frank.
It's a contentious day, Ed. You know, the Sox and Yankees going at it today. I thought you might have been planning this, but hopefully everybody will be kind.
Oh my goodness. Hey, look, we're just glad that baseball is here.
Yeah.
So Frank, welcome, and thank you for your sponsorship and for your membership. And thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us today. Look, financial resources is a big topic in the cannabis industry. So before we get into kind of those nuts and bolts, please tell us about yourself and introduce the Financial Resources Federal Credit Union.
Sure. So people understand Financial Resources is a federally chartered credit union. We are a not-for-profit member organization that provides commercial and personal banking services. So very much like people would expect from a bank, a full line of depository products, full line of lending products, as well as ancillary services we provide. Probably a bit of confusion sometimes around the entire credit union model. Applies to membership. What does that mean? And the exclusiveness of that. You do have to qualify for membership, and that's basically based off of where an entity is, where the business is located. We principally work with businesses and individuals in New Jersey, throughout the state of New Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania, and into New York. But we are a proud provider of banking services to a very diverse membership. And we're a very purpose-driven organization. Happy to be here today. I've appreciated your education over the last several months, helping me understand a bit more about the industry and where it's going and some of the needs. And as we move into the space, we're looking forward to continue that purpose mission of the organization and create some good partnerships and help advance the industry in our small way that we can contribute.
Well, that's great, Frank. Thanks you so much for that description, because a lot of people, what's the difference between a bank and a credit union? So thank you for sharing that. Whether you're an individual or a business, and again, this is regardless of, I'm thinking, no matter what you do for a living, how do you choose a financial institution to work with? It's not like you can go in and interview them, or do you? How does one choose? How does a business choose an institution that's right for them?
Yeah, I think principally they a lot of times start looking about what's around them, what have they heard of, and kind of limit themselves to that. You know, a good piece of advice is have a conversation with the institution you're looking to get with. What are some of your particular business needs? Have they worked in that industry space before? Do they understand your industry and what you're needing? How open and receptive are they to either new businesses, established businesses, and industry? Some places will avoid certain things, right? And be more open to others. Cannabis obviously being one of those topics. So you're right, it is a two-way engagement, because it's not just about the products today, it's about what are you going to need as your business grows and as your business expands. What you're looking for today, we might be able to accommodate, but if you become this other entity, what are your demands going to be, you know? But I will say in this day and age of technology and how businesses function so much, the geographic component has really diminished in terms of that consideration. And it's much more about the full complement of products and services, knowledge and willingness to support various industries and business entities.
Right. So when it comes to cannabis specifically, institutions are making, I figure, not just individual choices, but corporate choices as to whether or not they're going to participate in this industry. So when you made the decision to become part of the CannaBusiness Association, to dive into the cannabis industry, what is it that helped you make that decision?
So for us, you know, we answered early on as the industry was starting to come to light here in New Jersey. We asked the question, would we and should we support the industry? And those were the easy ones, to be honest. Our board and management team, we just felt it's in line with what our purpose is and what we do as an organization. If that's legal on a state level, and that's represented by 70% of the population here in New Jersey, and probably an additional 20% who just didn't answer honestly. That's the community, and that's our job, is to support the community, regardless of whether a member of my board, you know, would engage with medical or recreational marijuana. That's not a standard we hold other industries to. So that should not be the standard we hold the cannabis industry to. The hard part for us got to be the could, you know, for us. And every institution is going to have their own due diligence process as to whether they think it's right, whether they think it's wrong, what their public perception is. We quickly move past that, and we're into the phase of how do we do that? It's not as easy as it is to bank other industries, but without that, you know, without all the rules for a new industry, I get it. It's a process to get there. It's a big undertaking. You know, you, Mike, the legislature, so many other people have been not just trying to launch a company, you're launching a whole industry. And there's a number of components that go into making that up and making it run. And it takes steps to do that. We recognize that. And in looking at it for us, it was the right decision, and it may not be for other institutions, and that's okay. And I believe as things become more commonplace and more declared on a federal level, there'll be more institutions venturing into servicing cannabis businesses. I don't believe that necessarily opens it up to everybody, because I think there's still going to be some same concerns for that, whether it be from their perspective of what's right or what's not right, what their boards and management will entertain, and even just operating, going through this process. It's an incredible undertaking for a financial institution to look to deliver traditional banking services. They're not making it easy, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. And we're in the home stretch right now. So some places just may not make the commitment, but we've taken the position that we're going to run with this and make our services available to everybody.
That's great. So let's say I am the cultivation company. Can I come to Financial Resources Federal Credit Union and deposit my revenue?
Yes, in a very short matter of time. So I'll clarify. We're still finalizing and building out some of our program. We're about 90% of the way there. We expect to be able to launch commercially our deposit side of the house May 1st, actually. So we've been working with some companies in advance, finding out about their needs, what they're looking for, working with third parties who are in this space now, that we might have shared clients that would benefit from the services, as well as other industries that help support banking and the transference of money. Our emphasis has been on the deposit and product side. I think that's one of the main keys in talking to a lot of folks. And then we'll quickly be working on and introducing lending services out to some of the companies. So in spirit of our conversation, come May 1st, our products are in line. We have a dedicated team who will be handling cannabis banking. It won't be a regular branch operations. It's a specialized team and component, just giving the litany of regulations that we have to comport to on a daily basis and working with cannabis related businesses. We'll have that ability to do that in our branch locations. We'll have the ability to do it out at the client site if it makes it easy. We recognize it's hard to walk away from a business, especially starting a business, to take care of all these needs. We can come to them, but yes, there'll be a host of savings and checking products and services available. People could start putting their money into and obtaining traditional banking services. And we have relationships to support money movement. One of the big concerns we've heard from a lot of people is just the amount of cash and keeping that on premises when businesses get open. How are we going to address that? So we've got solutions in place for that, including debit card transactions and processing, cash management, technology for systems, applications to monitor sales and inventory so that we can appropriately report as required under the law. So all of those things that come into place, but yes, by May 1st, hopefully maybe even sooner, somebody would be able to give us a call and contact us, and we'll get them started on getting their business set up into traditional banking space.
That's great news, Frank. So if I'm when you talk about helping, so if I'm any business, does your team actually provide advice and guidance as to what makes sense for my business, be it cannabis or an ancillary business? Can I come to you for guidance?
Yes, we'll help to a certain degree. We certainly are not looking to circumvent somebody's legal counsel or tax or their accounting firm by any means, but we will certainly help, especially with those who may not be sure of what they want to do, how they have to structure it, what their needs are going to be. We're happy to work with them in terms of, hey, this products, these services, get some of their understanding for what their levels are anticipated. And those all kind of change as we go along the way. So, hey, we're expecting this level of deposits. We recognize, Ed, this is new for everybody, right? When a lot of these places start opening up, they have an expectation of what it's going to be, and then it'll be the reality, right? Like established industries can't get that right all the time. So we expect that it's going to be a very hands-on relationship. It's part required by regulation. So we do site visits just to make sure things are running, and there are requirements for that. We're providing all new businesses with a complete package to understand the documentation we need, what needs to be provided, questions they need to answer, to make sure that we can legally bank them in a way that's works for us and will work for them. And then as we go and as their needs change, we'll be able to make adjustments. I will tell you, our product set was built understanding a wide range so that it should comport to the majority of needs of what people are going to be looking for from a depository product. Some things will be rolling out over the next couple of months. So I mentioned we're a cooperative. Within the cooperative, cannabis banking may also be a subset of that cooperative that we look to in and of itself, because you're going to have unique needs, unique requests that maybe aren't shared by the rest of the membership. So we'll treat that accordingly with certain focus groups and teams to be able to say, hey, here's what we're seeing, here's what we're looking at. How do we adapt and adjust it? You know, we're not Bank of America, and there's nothing wrong with Bank of America, but our size, being so focused on New Jersey, affords us the opportunity to make adjustments for a more closely knit community, which is the New Jersey cannabis community, right? I don't have to contend with 50 states, basically.
That's good. Right. So I did see a question, and I'm not sure if I'm going to pose it correctly. So you've got your infrastructure, right? You've got your databases, your networking, your infrastructure. So if I'm a cannabis business and I'm working with other types of systems, do I have to worry about compatibility of systems? Is that something that you would need me to do to either convert from a particular network or a particular platform to meet yours, or does that matter?
Yeah, it should not. I can't say it absolutely won't, but our online banking platforms interface, I saw somebody was asking about QuickBooks. So yes, we have the interfaces that's necessary there. And in terms of the ability to be able to report on sales and inventory, those things that have to be closely monitored under the guidance, we'll introduce that technology that will connect with the in-place inventory POS systems that are already being used. So we'll be able to connect that, and that service is not costing anything to the cannabis business. It's just layering that onto their POS, their current POSs that they're using today, their current inventory management systems. That just creates a dual interface for tracking and reporting purposes that we have to do. And that's on that depository side, which is going to be key. Like I said, there are going to be some differences for how a cannabis business banks than maybe, you know, the grocery store down the street, but we're trying to make it as homogeneous as possible. And by using our own systems, as well as we'll have payment providers. So for debit card payments, for direct cannabis plant touching entities, we'll be able to provide, and we'll be able to provide credit and debit for the ancillary supporting industries, what we would consider indirect. They are distinguished for what we can do, but at least we're able to help facilitate the transfer of money without it always being cash, that additional security concern or just the operational concern of moving it along.
That's great. You read my mind. That's the direction I was going to move in. So because we as the association do represent a number of the ancillary businesses, not just plant touching applicants and businesses. So if I am the security company, if I am the janitorial company, I have less to worry about in terms of working with you than some of my counterparts.
Yes. Yep. Plant, you know, think of it as touching the plant is going to be one standard, and then the ancillary supporting will have a bit of a different standard, which is lessened. And honestly, understandably so, given the infancy of everything, right? Over time, with the maturization of the industry, there'll be a more normalized process, consistent, I believe. But at the start, I think we take what we can do to be as effective as what we can under the circumstances, and just look to continue to push those boundaries to get them as equal and equitable as we can make.
Right. So one of the things that NJCBA has been very proud of has been our promotion of business acumen, having certain business skills. When we look at the ability to do good banking, what are some of those basics? And I'm not trying to insult anyone, but this is business banking. What guidance would you provide to someone who's maybe starting a business for the first time? Like what should I have either in hand or be prepared to provide you when I walk into your branch or any branch of a bank that I choose? What should I be prepared to do to be a good customer?
Yeah, I think initially what people are going to have to understand is there's a lot more paperwork involved than when you're going in to open up your personal account where, hey, here's my ID and get that done, right? You need to have your organizational documents prepared and ready, typically your town certificates for the established entity to be able to operate in there. Depending on what types of services, you've probably already established a business plan. It's great to have a look at those to be able to say, here's our business plan, particularly if you're going to ask questions pertaining to lending and those considerations. It's best to have more of the ownership group there than not. Sometimes one person will do it. It's really great to have everybody there because typically parties of a certain percentage of ownership are going to have to participate actively on the accounts and signing for it. So it's best to coordinate that. I would also, it goes a long way to save your time, which is a precious commodity. Give a call to the place you're going to, find out what do I need. A lot of us have checklists and say, hey, if you're coming in, here's what you can get. As much of this as you can is going to make it an easier process, and we'll be happy to work with you. New businesses, we get it. There's a lot of things you have to do. We'll help take whatever weight we can related for our portion of finance and help you with that. And the same thing on the cannabis side. So when somebody gives us a call and says, hey, we're interested in developing a relationship and opening an account, like I said, we'll either schedule an appointment at the branch or we'll go out to the client site to be able to do that. We'll in advance provide the checklist that'll tell you, hey, we're going to need this documentation. This is what we need to get you started. Here's what we'll need in short order. And we fully expect with the state of the licensing, we're opening up to accounts almost like as a seed account so they can get their business account established, get their money parked where it's safe, have the ability to write some checks, manage their finances a little bit better. And then as they procure their actual license, then we can take them to stage 2 to vet out that process. So maybe we're not doing it all at once. We can get it started a little earlier on, get things established, and hopefully make that process easier along the way.
Great. Are there any red flags, like some things that you really don't want to see when a business is coming to you? Anything that stands out?
I'm sure there's some crazy scenarios that would likely stand out to us, but there's nothing off the top, right? Things that would be a red flag in conversations. You know, if somebody says, well, I don't have operating procedures for my business, or I'm not using an LOS for this, we're going to do it this way. Given the nature and scrutiny of this, you know, we're expecting people in this industry space, just like other industry space. This is a professional industry. This isn't, you know, some side hobby that people are doing. I understand how much work everybody's putting into this. And to be a credible business, you have to operate it like a credible business. And that means making sure you have the right resources and tools. And when I hear people say, I don't have the time for a business plan, or we don't have anything garnered, we'll figure it out as we go. Those are the sort of things that we're not ready to help. We need these things in place to be comfortable from our perspective. So I don't mean for that to sound harsh in any way, but it's just kind of the reality of being a professional business. Those are the expectations I would think a lot of financial institutions would have of somebody coming in. Now, if somebody's not prepared or doesn't know how to do those things, we're happy to help speak to them about that, right? So we'll provide some sense of that, but in the end, there's an onus on the operating owners and entity to be able to substantiate that this is what we're going to do. Here's our plan to start and how we're going to manage our organization going forward.
No, Frank, that wasn't harsh at all. In fact, to your point, it is a reality. And I think that with this industry, there are so many people that want to break in, that they may have not ever owned a business before. They may not have ever done a business plan before. So I think it's important to share that information, and that it just makes for a better customer. It makes for a better industry. When we talk about the cannabis industry, one of our goals has clearly been, this is a professional industry. The days of the Cheech and Chong kind of stereotypes, that's not the industry. Not to beat up anybody who loves their tie-dye, that's cool. But it is a professional industry. It is a regulated industry like yours is. And so we always try to help each other in this aspect. So with that, any kind of last thoughts as you prepare to become an institution, a regular part of the cannabis industry, and for those people that are new, any other kind of parting wisdom, if you will?
Yeah, I guess I would say this. I try to take things for what they are. This is new to all of us, relatively speaking, and I agree with your comments, the old Cheech and Chong moniker for what this industry is. A lot of folks on this call and in the association and starting up, it takes a lot of conviction to get through this process. It's going to weed a lot of people out along the way, and probably rightfully so. And I'm sure the legislature knows that in part. But I think people just have to be open and understanding that it may not always be as expedient and efficient as we would like. We're all learning, whether it's from my institution's perspective or somebody coming in to be a potential new member of the credit union and bring their cannabis business here. We'll figure it out. I think there are going to be some questions. I think you can't be afraid to ask the questions you don't know. Sometimes I'll work with businesses from our commercial team and they just don't ask questions. They're embarrassed to. There's no reason not to ask those questions and understand. We're all better for figuring out what's going to work best. And certainly, should we be fortunate in our line of business start expanding and the industry start opening up, share feedback. I'm not an expert. We're not everywhere. We take, as a credit union, a lot of the advice of our membership for what they want, what they need, what they're experiencing, and come back to us, and that's how we formulate changes as we build out our product lines. What we launch next, what's going to take a priority is really based off of what our membership deems most appropriate. So, if for those entities we may be doing business with down the road, speak up, let us know, communicate, and ask questions. We're going to ask questions of you. So if you've got them of us or what you can do, ask, whether it's directly something we provide or a lot of the financial institutions your members at are going to deal with have a lot of connections, or they work with other entities, whether it be, insurance, accounting, legal, and we're kind of networks among networks to be able to share information and work together. So ask the questions. Don't wonder.
Right. So before we depart, I did see one more question regarding a Form 8300. I don't know if that's an accountant question or a banking question.
Yeah, I probably have to go back to that. So in terms of reporting in cash, yes, obviously, there are considerations, and that's why we're creating wires and the ACH model to facilitate a lot of cash movement to cut down on prep. But some of the same FinCEN guidance related to banking transactions will still be applicable, and we're working to make sure how we handle the reporting structure, because it's a big question, right? Cash reporting. There are some differences related to cannabis banking space, and that's built into our systems. But we also understand the burden that cash reporting puts on to even our existing entities. And the less options to have ACH and debit acceptance and wires is just going to add to that consideration for our reporting, but those FinCEN standards kind of don't back off. We still have to have the reporting side of that, and we'll work with the entities to understand that
Great.
and how to handle it.
Excellent. Frank Almeida, President and CEO of Financial Resources Federal Credit Union. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with us, to share with us some insights on the banking industry and credit union industry. So thank you. You're an outstanding corporate member of ours. We do have other banking resources that do work with us. So we encourage everyone here, by all means, check out the institutions, go to an institution that's best for you. Frank, again, I can't thank you enough. I want to thank our sponsors once again. Argus 365, the security outfit. I want to thank Burton Trent Public Affairs, Curaleaf, current license holder and member of our board, Eaze, of course, Financial Resources Federal Credit Union, Garden State Greenhouse, Puffin, Entrepreneurs and Investors, our new corporate sponsor, Saks LLP. Thank you, Todd, and your crew. Sheet Metal Workers, Local 19, Sprague Energy, Syska Hennessy Group, a construction firm, the UFCW, Locals 360 and 152, and Weeds Direct. Don't forget, the CRC is meeting on Monday, April 11th, and please join us, the NJCBA, on April 27th, 6 to 8 p.m. at the UFCW in West Berlin, New Jersey. Come, in-person networking. Love to see you there. And once again, Frank Almeida, President and CEO, thank you so much for all of your help today.
I appreciate it, Ed. Thanks. Everybody enjoy your weekend and go Sox.